Mr. Happy Living here, and I'm happy to be broadcasting from WYTV 7 in the beautiful Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina, USA. Hey, friends, will you join me for just a minute and imagine how fabulous you'd feel living the unique and distinct life you were put on this planet to live, doing work you love, with people you love, in places you love, and all the while creating something of real value to others. Well, that's what I call life of significance. And I can tell you it makes a very happy life. And so can my friend Jeremy Miller. And he's here to share his unique and distinct journey to his life of significance. But before bringing him on, I'd like to share a poem that we created to thank him for being our guest star today. It's called A Journey of Hope and Strength, and it goes like this. A shooting star, a golden child, applause and fame ran free and wild. Then darkness came through drink and doubt. His shattered soul shut heaven out. Jeremy walked through fire and pain, drowning deep in the darkness, loss and shame. Then God's grace and love did light the way, a journey of hope and strength today. So tune in now, behold the light, how God restored this broken life. On something significant, come and see how faith and purpose set Jeremy free. Hey, Jeremy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. That is one heck of an intro, and that was awesome. That was really, really cool. Thank you for that.
It's it's a pleasure. So get us started by telling us what you're doing these days to make your mark of significance on the world.
Well, I'm still, pursuing acting and pursuing the things, my passions that I really enjoy. But those are really just springboards to leading my life of significance. Those are the things that allow me the opportunities to do the things that matter, the things I feel God wants me to be doing. Um, Not that I'm not saying God doesn't want me bringing joy and happiness to people's
Yeah.
lives through entertainment or whatever, but the lives I'm able to reach out and touch through my fame or through my success, that's the significant part.
So
Um,
give us about 30 seconds or maybe a minute on each of these. So your work on recovery, advocacy, and
mhm.
mentorship.
So I mean, it's a big part of my recovery is working with others constantly. But even more than that, working with others, trying to help them through recovery. I also try and mentor other young actors in the business. I didn't have a lot of that. I mean, I had great people around me on the show who helped do that, but there isn't a lot of existing infrastructure to guide and help young actors. So I try and be there and do that as well. But it really is more just about, I mean, most of what I do and try and apply is principles of recovery. They're life lessons I've lived through recovery, but they're applicable to every part of our life. And
Yeah.
that's what I try and show the people that I'm working with or the people in my life is that these principles don't need to be just executed for recovery or for
Right.
struggle. They're an excellent blueprint for a daily life that brings you a lot of joy. And it's centered around making sure that others' lives are better every single day.
Right on. It's taking the spotlight off of you and putting it on others, right?
Exactly. I mean, if I can lay my head down at the end of the day and know that I've made at least one person's burdens a little less, day a little lighter, then I know I had a good day.
All right. So tell us again quickly, maybe a minute or so, on
Mhm.
your episode of Jesus Calling, which is where I heard you and your friend, and then also about the book that you co-wrote together, When I Wished Upon a Star. So give us the When I Wished Upon a Star and the Jesus Calling story.
So, When I Wished Upon a Star came about because of my very dear friend, Dr. Brandon Phillips, who was a wish kid. And that's what the book is kind of about. It's a dual biography, but his wish was to meet me. And we formed this lifelong friendship in where I helped save his life and turn his life around and help him find his purpose. And in return, he basically helped save my life when I was drowning in my addiction and
Amazing.
helped me find my purpose in helping others,
Yeah.
or more get back to my purpose in helping others because it was
Yeah.
something that I always did appreciate before my struggles.
Yeah.
So getting to do the Jesus Calling podcast just came about very naturally in that the wonderful woman who runs that read our story and was just very, very touched by the journey that we had taken.
Yeah, very good. All right, one more. Give us another minute on your cooking and celebrity engagements, and about how did you come into the whole cooking thing? Have you always been a chef, or is it something that came up later in life?
Well, I kind of always grew up cooking. My grandmother was a self-trained chef and used to love to entertain. It's a long story, but she would cook for hundreds of people in our neighborhood at different times, and I always helped her. So I fell in love with it early. She had a restaurant that I worked at every summer when we weren't filming, when we were on hiatus. So again, I learned more of that passion for cooking. And again, it's more about showing my love for others through food. That really is my love language. And that's why I fell in love with it. That's why I love doing it, even for the public. Getting to cook for others, see their enjoyment is the reason I cook.
Yeah, very good. And then just for any of our audience out there that's just dying and trying to figure out who you are, tell them who you played because they might not remember your name.
Yeah, it has been a while. So I played little Ben Seaver on Growing Pains, and I was also the voice of Linus on Peanuts.
Okay, audience, now you can know. So very good. Thank you, Jeremy. Let's do a little mathematics so our friends all around the world can get to know you through what we call our happy formula. It's very simple, but it's also super powerful, and it goes like this: power plus purpose equals happy. So let's start with power. What are your personal practices for building up all the power that you need to get things done, whether it's physically or mentally, financially, spiritually, emotionally? In other words, what do you do on a regular basis to create the power you need to take excellent care of yourself and your loved ones and still have plenty left over so you can be a giver to others?
Truthfully, it's prayer.
Mm,
That's the centerpiece of where I draw all my strength from.
mm,
It, multiple times a day. I mean, it's the first thing I do when I wake up. It's the last thing I do when I go to bed. And I probably pray another 20, 25 times during the day, praying
wow.
for strength, praying for peace of mind, praying for acceptance and just what is in front of me at the moment. But that prayer really is the centerpiece of my not just recovery, but my life. That's where I
Yeah,
draw my strength from. And, I am a man of faith. I am a follower of Christ. But being in recovery, I tell everybody, you don't need to be a follower of Christ to pray. Get started, open that communication, open that line of dialogue. You'd be
yeah.
amazed at what happens.
Yeah, that's great. And so give us just a minute or so on this idea. So I mentioned these five things:
Mhm.
physical, mental, financial, emotional, and spiritual. And certainly the first three, and probably the fourth one too, are what I call earthly energies. And if you use them, if I spend $100 after replenishment, if I go out and I exercise real hard and do some physical work, I need to rest the body and replenish my energy. But spirituality is infinite. The more you use it, the more you love, the more you give, the more you have inside. So talk a little bit about your experience and maybe before recovery and after recovery of tapping into an infinite power source versus trying to grapple with a finite power source.
Well, I can tell you before recovery, before I had the tools that I have now, I was very cut off from that for a very long time. I didn't have that connection to replenish my supply of, spiritual strength and
Mhm.
to draw on that well. That like you said, is everlasting. I mean, it's a bottomless well we can draw from.
Yeah.
But I had no connection to it for a very long time. And that
Mm.
is, one of the very brutal things about addiction is it cuts you off from everything, that's the spirit, the love, the all of it. So,
Mm.
when I got into recovery and when I got sober, it wasn't even just getting into recovery. When my mind cleared and I could hear,
Mm.
again, I could hear when I prayed, I could hear the response when I could hear what people were saying to me and what they needed from me.
Mm.
That's when I started to be able to draw on that strength again and draw on that power. And it's what kept me going working in the because I worked in a recovery clinic for a while after I got
Mm.
sober. And that's really difficult because there are so many patients that you can't help. There were
Yeah.
so many moms who called begging me to save their child's life. And,
Wow.
in so many cases, there was nothing that I could do for them except, talk with them, pray with them, pray for them. And that was
Mhm.
it. So
Mhm.
those were trying days. Those were draining days. Those were days where I came home, you know, just sucked dry of anything
Yeah.
and very shattered inside sometimes. But
Yeah.
sure enough, all I had to do was ask, all I had to do was ask. All I had to do was quiet my mind, settle everything down a little bit and ask, for strength to just calm my heart and to I would pray for those people, please ease their suffering and,
Mhm.
help their loved one. You know, that's the stuff that doesn't run out. I can
Yeah.
always do that every time I feel run down, every time I feel like I don't have anything left to give, I can do that. And guess what? It just pops right back.
That's great. All right, Jeremy. Now let's discuss my favorite power generating concept, and I'm interested to see how this applies to you. It's called a Kaizen state of mind, and it's this beautiful Japanese idea that small incremental improvements add up over time to yield great big results. And I love it because it's based on mindset, not circumstance. So
Mhm.
Kaizening life is knowing there's always something that I can do better tomorrow than today. And it creates an optimistic, gentle, but powerful and continuous uplifting of my life day after day after day. So, Jeremy, how does Kaizening your life help you increase your power to continuously become more so you can continuously give more?
Well, that is actually a very big principle of most programs of recovery.
Mm,
It's progress, not perfection.
mm,
It's one step every day to get closer to make things better and to know that no matter what happened today, you have that opportunity to do it again tomorrow and to
correct.
try and
Yeah,
improve. And
yeah,
wherever you may have stumbled, you have a chance to improve that as well. And that's an important mindset. I know you know this because it allows you to look forward with hope no matter your circumstances. It
yeah,
allows you to look forward and know that things can get better through your actions every time,
yeah,
and it doesn't depend on your circumstances. It doesn't matter what's going on. We say this in recovery all the time. It's not, oh, well, when my situation gets better, I'll be better. No, it's
right.
when you get better, your situation improves.
Yeah,
And that's through
100%.
your constant action, constant thought of others, constant action to work to help others. That's how you build your life up.
Yeah. Okay, very good. So let's explore purpose. That's the second element of our happy formula. And I've observed personally that these big, major transformations, big discoveries of purpose often, sadly, come from devastation, addiction, abuse, disease, death, disaster, something awful just strips a life to its core, resulting in a big and often unexpected change. However, in my book, Turning Inspiration into Action, I share the transformational process that I've used to discover the purpose of my life using inspiration. So, how about you, Jeremy? Was there a specific moment or event or crisis or inspiration that revealed to you the God given purpose you were meant to live?
Truly, I think I had an understanding of it early on when we were doing the show and I still had that connection to God and I still was healthy mentally and physically. I think I really did understand my purpose even back then. I didn't believe it was, even as a kid, I didn't think my purpose was to be famous. I didn't think my purpose was to be on this show. What I saw was the lives I was able to touch and help while I was doing that. Even as a kid, that was the
Hmm.
most important part to me, getting to
So,
go to the
describe. So,
orphanage.
before we go on, describe how you would say your purpose was when you were in that moment, and
Well,
then take us through how you lost it, and then bring us back.
see, at that time, I was afforded the opportunity to do a lot of charity work. And it
Hmm.
wasn't just, for the pictures and for the photographs. I picked things that really mattered to me. Children's rights across the world, homelessness, things like that. And they were very, very passionate things for me. So getting to go and work at the soup kitchen, getting to go to the orphanage where all the kids have been abandoned, or to the orphanage where that is so secret that the kids you can't even take a picture because the kids have all been removed from the homes for dangerous
Wow.
reasons. Getting to
Wow.
go and touch those kids' lives was
Yeah.
what really showed me my purpose.
So let me just ask you, so we all know, because I don't know even, when you play a character on TV, we really don't know your age. So what was your age when you were in this opportunity of your purpose, talking about helping others, whereas so many other kids your age couldn't dream of doing the stuff you were doing?
Mhm. No, it was from about 8 to 15 when I was
Okay,
doing the show. And I can say probably by 9 or 10, probably 10, I really understood that my purpose was to use this to help others.
that's great.
I even at that age, I got
Mm.
to speak at the UN about children's rights and kids starving across
Wow.
the world. I spoke to 81 heads of state at 14 years old at the UN. What kind of kid
That,
gets to do that? You know
that's
what I mean?
awesome.
But
Yeah.
I think even at 10 years old, I understood that really was my purpose. It was to try
Mhm.
and make others' lives better. If I could achieve fame and success, that was only a springboard to helping others. So
Okay.
that was
So,
really, I think, when I realized my purpose. But then getting into the addiction, getting into the alcohol and the
yeah.
drugs, cutting myself off from that connection, I didn't feel that anymore. Or more to the point, I didn't feel I had anything to offer that could help anyone.
Mhm.
So
And
that
so
was
So
what.
coming out of it now, how has your purpose been refined or changed, or has it just been restored? Or how would you describe your purpose today compared to your when you were before you fell?
Well, without the understanding of an adult and having gone through the struggles, as a kid, my focus was it was bigger. I had a big I don't know, I had a big platform. I was known worldwide. I had
Mhm.
more opportunity to do big things. But what I found as I came out of recovery, because I was wondering, could I still do anything? I mean, I'm not
Yeah,
as famous anymore. I don't
yeah,
have a TV show. I'm not, worldwide. So what could I do? And that's when the realization comes. You actually do more by doing the small things.
yeah,
Doing the big stuff, the big grand things, that's wonderful, but they don't produce the same results that daily interaction with those around you and your
yeah.
community and trying to improve that. That's what makes the biggest difference long term. So
That's
that's
awesome.
what I discovered is I still had that ability no
Yeah,
matter my level of fame or
yeah.
success. I could still find things every single day around me where I could try and help improve others' lives.
Right on. Okay, Jeremy, if someone's listening right now and they're still in their own before moment, they're still in the pit of despair, what would you say to help them believe that there's a purpose waiting on the other side?
All I would tell them was I was as desperate as you are at this moment. I was desperate and weak, and I loathed myself more than I can even explain.
Mm,
And I found my way out of it. And you can too. All you need to do is ask for help. It doesn't matter whether it's a recovery program, your church, your pastor, your family friend, ask for help. Someone has been there before. Someone has gone this and walked this road before, and they will take your hand and they will walk this road with you. And if you can't find anybody to walk it with you, you contact me on social media, send me a message, and I will walk this road with you.
very nice. Can you tell us when you were at your lowest moment, was there a catalyst or a moment or a person that was the beginning of the turnaround? So take us to the lowest, and then what made the change?
Um, I had been trying to get sober for a while. I knew it was a problem. It was causing problems in my relationships. I was not being the father to my boys that I wanted to be. And I knew I needed to make a change. The problem was I couldn't make it work. And I fought for many years the
Mm,
crazy struggle, driving to the liquor store and sitting in the parking lot and arguing with yourself and going in and coming out and back and forth. I mean, it's a nightmare. But I did
yeah.
I did that for many, many years. And then one day had a massive blow up, a massive argument with my fiance, and she attempted to restrain me from leaving.
Mm,
and I threw her off of me,
mm.
and she hurt her wrist really badly.
Oh,
That was my moment.
yeah.
That was I had hurt the person that I loved the most in this world.
Mm.
And I didn't, get violent. I didn't anything else. I was trying to walk out the door and she literally kind of jumped on my back and wrapped her arms around me to keep me from going. And I just, as hard as I could, kind of shoved her off my back and she fell, hit the floor hard, and she hurt her wrist pretty bad. And that was my catalyst. I had done something absolutely horrific. I had hurt the person that I loved the most in this world, and
Mm.
I knew I absolutely could not do this 1 second longer. I either needed to find help and get it done, or I honestly believed I wasn't going to make it another year.
Yeah. Now I'm going to take a risk. You're not supposed to ask questions when you don't know the answer, but is that person you're describing, is that the beautiful soul that I've been communicating with?
Yes, it is. That's my beautiful fiance, Joni.
Very good. All right. Thank you for all that, Jeremy. Now let's take a quick commercial break so our audience can spread a little love. I'm sorry, so that our sponsor can spread a little love with our audience.
Are you ready to transform your life? At happyliving.com, we've discovered 4 keys to help you live with purpose, joy, and significance. Unlock your truth with the Happy Quiz. Unlock your happy formula with inspiring stories from the Something Significant Show. Unlock your roadmap to happiness with our free ebook, Making Your Mark of Significance. And unlock your inspired life with our life-changing e-course, The Philosophy of You and Your Inspired Life. This is your time to shine. Go to happyliving.com now and click Unlock the Power of You. Unlock your power. Live your best life. happyliving.com.
And we're back, and this is the Something Significant Show, and I'm your host, Matt Gersper. And my special guest star today is Jeremy Miller. He's a former child star, best known as Ben Seaver on Growing Pains. Now he's a professional chef, a speaker, and an advocate for addiction recovery. Jeremy's journey from Hollywood highs to rock bottom and ultimately back to living his true purpose reveals the power of faith, friendship, and second chances. His story reminds us that no matter how far we fall, God's grace can restore, renew, and lead us to the life he means us to live. Jeremy, I love that. And I think you're going to love this article that I found called The Science Behind the Power of Giving. It tells us that the simple act of giving can actually become a gateway to discovering your reason for being on the planet. And science confirms it. When we give our time, our talents, and treasures, it doesn't just help others, it transforms us. It helps us overcome pain. It helps us find meaning. It helps us discover our purpose. So I've updated our formula. Power plus purpose plus giving equals really happy. So how about you, Jeremy? Has giving your time, talents, and treasures been the path that led you back to your purpose, bringing healing, meaning, and light back into your life?
There really is nothing that fills you up like giving, and giving of your time, your effort, your love to others. That really is the most valuable things you have that you can give. It really is your time, your effort, and your love.
Yeah.
And it you'll never be sorry, even when the results don't go the way you want. As long as you did your part, you'll never be sorry for helping. You won't. You may have a moment of regret. I mean, I've been betrayed, backstabbed, double-crossed, had them do all sorts of horrible things, people I've been trying to help. And yeah, maybe in that one you're like, oh man, I never should have done this. But trust me, you will never regret it. It fills your heart and your soul up in a way that nothing else will. And
Yeah.
from a mental health standpoint, there is nothing that will take you out of the negative place that you are in quicker than reaching out and helping someone else. It takes you out of self
Yeah.
and helps you focus on someone else. It is so great for mental health. I
Yeah.
can't even tell you.
Yeah. It's instant. It reminds me of a quote. It says, "Your day belongs to another's dream."
Mm,
So
I
when,
love
when
that.
you're at a bad moment, if you can reach out and help, by definition, you're helping somebody else who's maybe in a worse situation than you are.
Yep, absolutely. And it will. It will pull you out of that situation mentally, emotionally, whatever you're dwelling in at that moment. It pulls you out of it and focuses you on someone else and fills you up with a strength that you can't get anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Jeremy. So science tells us that giving to others brings real meaning and joy into our lives. And here at the Something Significant show, we've seen it time and time again, how that joy gets supercharged when it flows from doing work that creates value for others. That's the fourth element of our definition of significance. But I believe there's something even more powerful than just the giving. I believe that the real magic of life comes when you're giving to others by living in your purpose, that sweet spot of who you are, what you've lived through, and what you're gifted to do, where it's all come beautifully together. That's where the giving transforms not just the lives of others, but your own and even those around you. Because when your purpose comes from God, your giving becomes a reflection of Him. And Jeremy, clearly, that's how you're living your life today. You're showing up, you're serving others, you're sharing your story, and lives are being changed because of it. So, our audience, and I would love to know, how does it feel to know that simply being who God created you to be and doing the work He placed on your heart, that you're bringing healing, hope, and real transformation to the lives of others? Tell us how it feels to live deeply in your purpose and give to others from there.
Well, I can tell you there's a real sense of peace, in knowing that you're doing what you were meant to do. And you don't get as tired. You don't get as worn out. You're not as miserable all the time. You don't feel like you're drained of everything you have. You are literally doing everything that you were meant to do, and therefore it replenishes you as you're doing it.
Mhm.
So that's what it feels like to me. I mean, I getting to put together all the pain, all the struggle, all the suffering, and turn that around for a positive, turn that around to actually improve someone else's life is magic. I mean, it's one of the greatest gifts God has given us is that ability to turn that pain into someone else's hope.
Yeah. And you said it, what I think is really important, and it's what this show is all about, is if you haven't found your purpose, Jeremy, would you agree with this? Keep searching for it. Be looking for it. Pray for it. You said you don't have to be a believer to pray. Pray for it. But what Jeremy just said is it's not like everything becomes easy or everything works
No,
perfectly, but it's just all powered up with this infinite energy and purpose. And so when you run into a brick wall with infinite energy and purpose, you say, okay, how am I going to get around this wall? Or I wonder why the wall was put there in the first place. Correct?
exactly. It doesn't knock you down like it did before.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
find yourself able to overcome. And that's huge. And like you said, just keep searching for that purpose, pray about it. Pray to your higher power. If you don't, if you're not a follower of Christ, just pray. Open up a dialogue and keep searching, because when you find it, when you find that sweet spot, when you're able to take all of your experiences and put them forward for what you were meant to do, and that can take so many different forms. So keep your eyes open and keep searching, and don't give up hope that you will find it, because it's there and it's waiting for you.
Right on. And folks, that's what this show is all about. We're here to encourage you, our listeners, to find that same magic in your lives. It's available for each of us. That's what I believe. That's what Jeremy's saying. And it comes from this great, big, happy circle. Giving your time, talents, and treasures is a powerful pathway to discovering your purpose. And giving from living in your purpose brings a profound joy to your life and to the lives of those around you, too. So it seems that giving leads to purpose and giving from purpose leads to joy. So, Jeremy, if I'm going to capture the entire exponential power of our happy formula, I've got to tweak it just a tiny bit more. Power times purpose times giving equals happy to the third power. And that's really, truly, deeply happy. Does that sound about right to you?
It sounds pretty much perfect to me. It's what I've experienced. It really is. If I find myself slacking in any of those areas, or, you know, maybe playing the pity party a while and staying in that rather than refocusing on helping others, yeah, that can feel overwhelming. And
Mhm.
when I'm praying, when I'm in contact, when I'm helping, when I'm giving, when I'm being of service to others, it's not overwhelming. It doesn't matter what's coming at me. I know that I can get through it. I know I can face it, and I know I can use it to help others.
So we talked about it before, but just give me a 30-second answer
Mhm.
or so on this. When you talked about being in your pity party, that's when your focus is on yourself. And
Exactly.
when you turn that focus onto others, all of a sudden the pity party goes away and your life picks right back up. So just talk about the power of that, of it's all about you to you're here to serve.
Well, one of the biggest problems, one of the biggest with our society today is just the self-obsession.
Mhm.
Everything with social media and everything else, we're constantly focused on us.
Yep.
And our society has taught us that's how it's supposed to be,
Yep.
constantly work on you and constantly do that. Well, self-reflection and self-work is a good thing, but you will get there a heck of a lot quicker by the more circuitous route. Go help others and your
Yeah.
life will improve. Go help others' lives get better. And guess what? Your life gets better. All of
Yeah.
those things will happen as a result of that.
Yeah. Very good. Wonderful. Jeremy, let's wrap things up the lightning round. I just love the power of words and the capacity for great quotes to change lives. So I'm going to read a few of my favorites and ask you to tell us what they mean to you.
Okay,
Give us the first thing that pops into your mind, not just the first word, but the first thoughts, because we call this a lightning round.
you got it.
Here we go. The Declaration of Independence includes this powerful insight. All experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. So that quote really hits when we think about addiction and self-destruction, doesn't it? What helped you finally reach the point where you said, I can't keep suffering like this. I have to abolish the forms that are causing my suffering.
Well, it was the suffering I was causing others. I
Mm,
would have probably endured it much, much longer if I was the only one suffering. But it
mhm.
was the suffering that I was causing to those that I loved
Yeah.
that was the true catalyst.
Yeah, that's very good. All right. I mean, Ernest Hemingway once wrote, the world breaks everyone, and afterwards, some are strong at the broken places. So, Jeremy, your story reflects that truth, I think, very clearly. How have your broken places, those moments of rock bottom, actually become the strongest and most meaningful parts of who you are today?
I truly don't believe I would be able to help as many people as I am today, even if I had the same understanding of giving, without going through all that darkness, all that pain, and all that brokenness. So I really believe that is the strength at those broken places. I
Mm.
could not be where I am today. I could not have helped as many people as I have, and hopefully as many people as I will in the future if I had not struggled and suffered and hurt for so long, if I didn't have that well of experience to draw from.
What's one area of that you can share with the audience that represents a strength that you have today that's stronger because of the brokenness? What's one attribute or one part of you?
Hmm. Truthfully, I think it's just my ability to move forward and past adversity.
Mhm.
When that big roadblock or that, massive bat would just come out of nowhere and smack me down, before it would just wipe me out. I mean, it would derail me for months and months and months, maybe years. I wouldn't get back to that. That's what it's done for me, is that I am able to persevere, to overcome, and to move through those adversities and obstacles much easier and with much less
Good.
internal struggle.
Yeah. What you just said, your resilience was broken, and now your resilience is way stronger.
Very much so.
Yeah. Okay. This is a great one. It's a powerful line from Sir Thomas Mallory. I just heard this. He said, "Enough is as good as a feast. So you lived with fame and success, and then also with deep struggle and humiliation. So what does enough mean to you now, and how has your understanding of that changed over time?
Oh, it's definitely changed over time. A big part of enough for me is I always thought I had to save the world when I was helping. I mean, especially as a kid. That's, we're
Mm,
taught, oh, look at, look, we're always shown the big people who did the massive stuff. So in
mm,
my mind, to help and to be of significance in helping, I had to achieve those grand, great things.
mm.
And, one of the beautiful things in recovery is that we focus on us. I can't control anything except the 6 foot circle around me and what's in that. That's all I get to control. Everything else, I just get to control how I deal with it and how I react to it and how I move forward from it.
Kind of electronic dog collar.
Exactly.
All right, this is from Khalil Gibran. He said, out of suffering have emerged the strongest souls. The most massive characters are seared with scars. So, Jeremy, how has your suffering, your scars, helped shape your soul and reveal the deeper purpose you're meant to live out today?
I think the suffering has definitely made me more compassionate towards, people's struggles. It's opened my eyes more towards the things that people deal with on a regular basis. And, as we said, it's pain is the touchstone of growth.
Mhm.
That's a line in recovery that we say quite a lot. And I don't think I could have achieved everything I've achieved with helping people, the sense of peace, the sense of serenity that I've been able to find in my purpose. I don't think I'd have been able to get there without all the struggle and pain.
Yeah,
That's something that is hard earned.
yeah, yeah. All right, finally, this one is one of my all-time favorites and our show anchor. It comes from Goff, and he says, "Whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now." So the question is, what dreams are you pursuing now, and what bold steps are you taking to continue living your purpose-driven life?
Well, I really believe that it's all the small steps that get us there. It's, as you said, one small step, one small increment of progress
Yeah,
every single day, just keeping moving forwards. And the truth is, 9 times out of 10, when I've set myself on some goal and I start making those steps and those progresses, God just changes the path.
yeah,
I
right.
never end up where I thought it was going to, but I always end
100%.
up where I was supposed to end up.
That's a great answer. And now, my friends, it's your chance to be a giver too. If today's show with Jeremy Miller touched your heart, and if it lit a spark, please consider sharing a little love with our amazing team at WITV7. They're a 501c3 charity on a mission to educate, empower, and encourage. Your donation fuels their good work. Together with love and kindness, everything is possible. Jeremy, how you are I love your courageous vulnerability and how you open your heart and your history, not to seek attention, but to offer healing. And I admire how you've turned pain into purpose, lifting others through recovery, cooking, and compassion. And I'm super happy that you've shared your authentic, brave, and purpose-driven spirit on our show today. Will you just take a minute or two and share any parting remarks you'd like to leave with our audience?
Honestly, I would just like to say, please do not fear, no matter what your situation that you're dealing with right now, whether it's addiction, whether it's financial struggles, whether it's family troubles, whatever it is, reach out for help, talk to somebody about it, and pray. Like I said, you pray to a higher power if you have to. Just start,
Yeah,
and you will be amazed at what that connection can do for you.
yeah,
But do not be afraid. It will get better. It can get better. I am living proof of that. I have worked with hundreds and hundreds of people. I have seen them all get better. Just
yeah.
begin by asking for help.
Yeah, that's great. I wonder, I was thinking about this earlier. I think a lot of people when they're feeling overwhelmed, they think like, they're the only ones that's there. And I was going to ask you, maybe you can just finish up with this. What have you learned about the facade that people put on to live their regular life even when they're suffering, mightily behind it? And is that a way for others who are suffering to say, you know what, there is a lot of us going through this, so I can feel more comfortable to reach out for help? Does that make sense?
It really does make sense. We all live behind these masks. It's how our society has taught us. You've got to project this type of image. You have to project this type of success. Most people are living a false life. Most people are living a false image, and it's just something we don't even notice anymore. But the truth is, the more you let that slide, the more you can let your authentic self come through, the more lives you will touch, the more people, the more love you will get back in return, the more love you will put out into the world. But you can't do that if you're not being the authentic you. You just can't. If you're going with
Yeah.
what society has taught us, and we got to keep up the masks and keep up the appearance, you're never going to have that real connection where you
Yeah.
can affect and help and change someone's life.
Yeah, right on. Thank you, Jeremy. And I also want to thank WITV7 for hosting and promoting our show so we can keep interviewing inspiring guest stars like Jeremy and reaching folks just like you, ready to create your own extraordinary lives. And most especially, thank you to our viewers and listeners. You'll find links to social media and all things Jeremy Miller. Find him, friend him, listen to his Jesus Calling interview. That's what got him on this show. I heard him almost 3 years ago, folks, and we finally just got connected, and here he is. And even get an autographed copy of his book. You'll find it on the show notes. From me to you, dear friends, I love you, and I want you to be truly, deeply, even unshakably happy. So don't wait. Head on over to happyliving.com and click Unlock Here. It could be the first step to discovering the life you were meant to live, one filled with purpose, joy, and real significance. And as you begin unlocking, think about what we can do together, you and me, to improve the happy of your world, one person at a time. Till next time, I'm Matt Gersper. You are awesome. And this is the Something Significant Show. And we're out.